Okay, we had the results of the EU elections in last night. What I want to do is have a look more deeply at them. So first of all, the Brexit Party did really well, of course. I think, going by the polls, maybe slightly underperformed. Interestingly, Nigel is complaining that UKIP votes cost him a few more seats. And I think in the Northwest that was definitely true because UKIP got, I think it was almost 70,000 votes in the Northwest, and Tommy got 40,000. So I think those detracted somewhat from the Brexit Party. But hey, that's what competition is all about. You can't just come and expect to roll on the scene and stamp out your opposition totally. It is possible. UKIP was polling general between 50,000 and more. In the Northwest, they got nearly 8%, so they weren't doing too badly. In a lot of cases, UKIP did better than Change UK. And in one case, in the Northwest, they were hot on the heels, in the Northeast, they were hot on the heels of the Tories. Now, when Nigel came on LBC today, he was talking about, people only voted for UKIP because they thought he still led UKIP and they haven't been keeping up with things and they thought they were voting for him. Well, first of all, that's kind of patronizing to talk down to people in that way. And this reveals an odd kind of spitefulness he has for his former colleagues. I'm not quite sure why he is stabbing them in the back to such an extent, or is part of the reason why he's accepted by the establishment now is because he's going to stamp out UKIP. So I find that a little bit odd. I mean, those were the people he fought with, he worked with for 25 years, and this is how he's prepared to talk to them. It's quite vindictive. I'm not liking that side of Nigel. But of course, the Brexit Party performed extremely well. I know the Lib Dems have been trying to spin this, that they did well, and overall the Leave vote, Remain vote adds up to more. But that's extremely like creative accounting. That's creative mathematics. Because I think Anne Widdecombe did have a very good point, where she said people who were voting for the Brexit Party were only voting for one thing and one thing only. And of course, we could say UKIPers were all voting for Brexit as well. So you add those two percentages together, they're quite high. But people who were voting for Labour, the Tories, the Lib Dems, and the Greens are all doing so for a variety of different reasons, not particularly Remain, because 25% of Lib Dem voters are in fact voted Leave, right? Even a lot of SNP voters voted Leave, but they still went for those parties. And a lot of tribal voting still happens, as you know. So you can't look at those other parties and say, these are definitely Remain votes. I know of one person specifically who wrote to me and said, he's a passionate Leaver. However, he is not a fan of Nigel. He wasn't prepared to vote for UKIP. He lives in the Northwest, so he's really not keen on the Tories, and he can't stand Corbyn, and he felt the only place he could put his vote was Lib Dem, so he voted for them, even though he's a Leaver. So there's one example. And I know other people who are going to vote Green, even though they voted Tory all their life, because they see a Green vote as a protest vote. I don't think they really understand at all what the Greens are about. So you can't extrapolate. You can say definitely that those who voted Brexit and UKIP want Brexit, and that's a very solid block of people. What the Tories and Labour vote, well, it's anyone's guess, isn't it? So I think, Nigel was a kind of a touch disappointed that he was scuppered in getting more of the line. But I think he's being a little bit, he has very high expectations. He also went on to say, hi, Jonathan. Yeah, I was, Jonathan. I totally agree with you. I want to come to that. But I was a little bit gutted for them because I know they worked very hard. However, they didn't do too badly if you think about it, because they knocked Nigel a bit. They kept at least 3 seats off him. And I think kind of their vote held up well. I think most people wanted to go with the momentum and they thought their vote would count for more if it weren't for the Brexit Party. They didn't want to split the vote, which is quite sensible tactical voting, but I'm coming back to that. Okay, so Nigel said, hasn't he done brilliantly? Because in 45 days, he's taken a party from 0 to nothing. Not true. All he's done is hoovered up the UKIP vote because he was already so strongly associated with Brexit. He's the most high-profile politician in the UK, the most successful politician in the UK ever. He can't pretend his party went from 0 to winning all those seats. It didn't. It capitalized on the momentum UKIP already had in the previous European elections, plus hoovered up votes from really angry Tory and Labour voters. I think UKIP got 24 seats. He got 29. That's not that brilliant, Nigel. You're capitalizing on the momentum you already had. Although, of course, gosh, as a Brexiteer, I'm not going to complain. He wants to be part of cable is flat. Oh, sorry, Becco, you sound like me. Every time I want to watch something, a battery's flat or something. So Nigel wants to be part of the negotiations with the Tories. Now, from when I looked at his chart, this is totally in line with what he's going to start doing, is putting pressure to get more involved in the Tory party, right? So he's talking about having a candidate in every of the 650 constituencies to run in a general election. Problem I see here, it's quite a dangerous strategy in terms of splitting the vote. If he splits the vote, goodness knows it could just mix things up and we could get a result we really don't want, right? I don't think he should run in all 650. I think he should be very specific about where he runs and takes account of how people will tactically vote. Otherwise, it could mess everything up. I don't think there is going to be a general election soon, but I think when there is one, as you know, I've said it before, he is going to win a seat, and then he's going to push to go into coalition, and he's going to push himself forward as some key role. What key role he's going to have at the moment, I think the Tories will be reluctant to let him in, because he kind of muscles in and takes over everything, because he is very powerful, right? And I know they were always scared of having him on the Brexit team with the negotiations, because he kind of pissed them off in Europe a little bit too much. I also want to know, if Boris comes along, where's the momentum for Farage? If Boris comes along and is promising a substantial Brexit, it really takes the wind out of Farage's sails. And as I say, because he's moved so far away from everything that UKIP are going for, he's left himself in a political no man's land, because I don't see there any policies that he can really stand for that can hold the current people in his party together and still be important enough to set himself aside from the Tories. He's just terrified of touching the issues that UKIP are now touching. And because he's so terrified, how will he differentiate himself for voters? Because people vote differently in a GE. They vote tribally, they vote tactically. In certain areas, they might be scared to vote for his party in case it lets Labour in, or even the Lib Dems in. So while I definitely think he could win a few seats, I don't think he should run for all 650. It would be a dangerous strategy because of the risk of vote splitting. I also think that his party seems to be all about, you remember that song, I don't want your money, honey, I want your love. Well, he wants your money, but he doesn't want your opinions. He wants, like I've said before, he's taking on subscribers because he wants bring a lot of money in, but it's got to be his way or the highway. He's going to call the shots. Whereas I really liked what Carl Benjamin was doing in UKIP, talking to people, getting real feedback of what people want. And I quite like this whole classical libertarian thing that Carl is pushing UKIP towards, And I just get the feeling, looking at Anouska Rees-Mogg and, Claire Fox, Anne Widdecombe, Richard Tice, some of the people he's got on board, the Brexit Party has become a party of privilege. It's not a party of the people. It's not a party for ordinary Brexiteers to make their showing. And I do think one thing Gerard Batten has done right is bringing in a lot of the YouTubers, because you're bringing people from outside the establishment, whereas Nigel is only picking people from slap bang in the establishment. So that just says to me the wrong message, really. It's saying this is just another establishment party that I can't really trust. I think the Brexit Party is excellent as a pressure group, right? I agree with it from that point of view. And I think Nigel's doing a wonderful job. There are some things I like about him, but I wouldn't trust this as a party as a whole. He doesn't seem to want to take up the mantle for freedom of speech or for any of those other things we care about. And I think, in the long run, he is just going to push to be part of the Tory team. I'm still convinced he's really, walking back to happiness. He is walking back to the Tory party. And that's kind of probably where he ultimately sees he can gain the most power, is by even being with them or in coalition with them in some way. Okay, the big question is with Nigel. We still have this massive problem of Parliament might block no deal and how to push through a substantial Brexit through Parliament. I don't hear any answers from him on that. I don't think he's really good at the tactical strategy. I think he's good at winning elections. I think he's good at making a lot of hoopla. Not quite sure tactically if he knows what the exact strategy is now to get us over the line. The key is, can Boris come up with the right strategy? Maybe get us Canada Plus or something. Or will Nigel actually come up with the right strategy? Let me read some. Hi, Doreen. Thank you, Doreen. I was going to do something with Patreon. It just didn't really work for me. And I think I'm going to do Subscribe Star instead. So I haven't uploaded there, but I definitely am going to start looking towards Subscribe Star. You have any suggestions on date to use for the pound chart? Oh, when the pound, that would be interesting, Paco. I'm going to try and look into that one. Lisa, we were watching all the results coming in across the European Union and seeing this right-wing populist wave get 40% of the seats as you predicted. Yes, Jonathan, I tell you what, let me end the stream. I've got another one where I'm going to do a European wrap-up, because I think the Sky News definitely put a spin on the European results, saying, oh, well, you know, the right-wing surge, it didn't really happen, and look how well the Lib Dems are doing. And I just kind of wanted to smash that one down, hit it for a 6, you know.